This UN resolution comes on a wave of Palestinian attacks against Israelis this year. This latest happening Tuesday in the Jewish community settlement of Ariel, where a Palestinian man killed 3 Israelis and wounded 3 others before he was shot and killed by security officers. This year, a new Palestinian terror group has emerged in the West Bank city of Nablus. They call themselves the Lions Den. Here's an interview I did with a former Israeli intelligence official about the group's rising popularity and what it says about a Palestinian society. Avi Melamed, thanks for joining us on Jerusalem Dateline. What is this new group? They're based in Nablus. They call themselves the Palestinian Lions Den. What is this new group?
Chris, hi, thank you for having me. It's a group of couple of dozens of young Palestinians. It's mostly based in the city of Nablus, in the central part of the West Bank, the Samaria area. Nablus is a big Palestinian city. Already emerged a couple of months ago. It already has been engaged with both terror attacks as well as exchange of fire with the IDF. IDF conducted a couple of operations, eliminating some leaders of that group. The interesting thing about this group is that its members deliberately and knowingly do not identify themselves with any existing Palestinian power, namely Hamas or Fatah or the Popular Front or any other Palestinian group. And that for itself is a very interesting feature, which
Why
basically
is that so significant?
Because it reflects first the disappointment and disfranchise and criticism of Palestinians over their leadership, both the major Fatah that rules the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas that rules Gaza Strip since 2007. Hamas dragged Gaza Strip to a dead-end street, causing havoc and destruction and death and so on and so on. There is a lot of criticism on Hamas. Fatah is viewed by many Palestinians as corrupted and irrelevant. Fatah is now engaged in a power struggle over the legacy of the President Mahmoud Abbas. So there is a lot of discontent and anger within the Palestinians regarding their leadership. And then there is another interesting thing about this group, that when you see the solidarity of the people with this group, it can be only attributed to that specific issue, meaning that this group is viewed by many Palestinians as an authentic voice that actually may indicate some deep current process that takes place within Palestinian society vis-a-vis the whole issue of leadership, that may result in, maybe sometime down the road, the emergence of a new political player within the Palestinian society. Because the Palestinian society is experiencing a very deep crisis, partly because of the story of the leadership that I mentioned before, and partly because of the growing understanding that they are kind of like caught in this very sad circle where they are, on the one hand, they are very much tuned to the story of the armed resistance, and every time there is a conflict between Israel and Gaza, you see the same picture in the first couple of days. Palestinians are praising Hamas and praising Islamic Jihad, but when the dust settles down and the scale of destruction and death are exposed, then obviously the cheering and the praising is changed with a deep criticism of Hamas and Islamic Jihad and so on. And the Palestinians are caught in this very sad loop. And basically, there is a growing understanding that they are doing some sort of like one step forward, 2 steps backwards, in the sense that they are saying, okay, we know that actually this armed struggle doesn't take us anywhere specifically, but we are still kind of like caught in that loop, even though they understand that at the end of the day, using military might or using violence or using the narrative of victimhood has a limited impact in the end of the day.
With just a few seconds left, Avi, what does this portend for the future Palestinian-Israeli relations? And do you see this actually increasing this idea of an armed struggle against Israel?
Well, that's exactly what I'm kind of like trying to decode, and I don't have an exact answer. My inclination is to assume that in the end of the day, by the way, there has been recent reports that members of the group now have joined back the Palestinian Authority Armed Service or Security Services. I think that in the end of the day, that will be an interesting, not very significant, but an interesting landmark on the story of the Palestinian society. But I do believe that we have to look at it mostly through the story of the potential emergence of a new political player within the Palestinian society, maybe within this decade already.
Wow. It's pretty challenging for Israel. But Avi Melamed, thanks for joining us on Jerusalem Dateline.
My pleasure, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Coming up next, a strong warning from a thought leader in Germany.